They say blood is thicker than water, but what happens when that blood only flows one way for 12 years? I was their safety net, their walking ATM, the one they called when bills came due. Yet on the morning of my 34th birthday, I woke to absolute silence while their laughter echoed through the walls, celebrating someone else. That's when I decided if they wanted to forget me, I'd give them something they'd never forget. The cabin, the credit cards, the comfortable life I'd built for them. I was about to burn it all down. My name is Madeline Harper, and I was invisible in my own family's house that September evening. The dining room glowed with warmth from the antique chandelier that had belonged to my grandmother, the one I'd paid $800 to restore when Mom couldn't afford it. Grant sat at the head of the table, my brother's face flushed with wine and satisfaction as Mom brought out the red velvet cake, his favorite since childhood. 27 candles flickered like tiny dancers, casting shadows that seemed to mock me from where I sat in the corner chair, the one with the wobbly leg that no one ever bothered to fix. To Grant. Aunt Sylvia raised her glass, her voice already thick from her third bourbon. 37 years of being the golden boy. 37. Grant laughed, that booming sound that always filled every room. Come on, Aunt Syl, I'm not that old yet. The room erupted in laughter. Mom reached over to ruffle his hair, the same gesture she'd done since he was 5, the one she'd never done to me. I watched her eyes crinkle with genuine joy, the kind that lit up her whole face. When was the last time she'd looked at me that way? Remember when Grant won that debate championship in high school? Mom started launching into a story everyone had heard 100 times. The principal said he'd never seen such natural talent. I took a sip of my water. I wasn't offered wine and felt the familiar tightness in my chest. Tomorrow was my birthday, my 34th. Not a milestone year, not a round number, but mine nonetheless. The date sat heavy in my mind. September 15th, less than 3 hours away. The French doors to the garden were open, letting in the humid New Orleans evening air that carried the scent of night-blooming jasmine from the garden I'd helped plant, but was never thanked for. The old house creaked and settled around us, this Greek revival beauty on Prytania Street that had been in our family for 3 generations. Every mortgage payment that had saved it from foreclosure had come from my account, but to hear them tell it, the house had simply stayed in the family through good fortune. Madeline, could you grab more ice? Mom didn't look at me when she asked. I stood, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor, a sound that went unnoticed under Grant's animated retelling of his latest promotion at the advertising firm. As I walked to the kitchen, I heard Aunt Sylvia say, "That boy could sell ice to Eskimos. Not like—" She stopped herself, but I knew how that sentence ended. Not like Madeline, who just does numbers all day. The kitchen was a refuge of sorts. Here, among the copper pots I'd bought Mom for Christmas 2 years ago and the professional range I'd paid to repair last spring, I could breathe. I opened the freezer, the cold air hitting my face like a wake-up call. The ice maker had been broken for months. I'd offered to fix it, but Mom said it wasn't a priority. Of course not. I was here to fill the ice trays manually. Through the serving window, I could see them all. Mom, Aunt Sylvia, Grant, and his latest girlfriend, whose name I hadn't bothered to learn because they never lasted more than 6 months. They were leaning into each other, sharing that comfortable intimacy of people who belonged together. Grant was opening presents now, a watch from Mom that I knew she'd charged to the credit card I paid off monthly, a rare bourbon from Aunt Sylvia, who still owed me $3,000 from her last emergency. I returned with the ice bucket, setting it down quietly on the sidebar. No one acknowledged me. I might as well have been one of the servants this house had employed a century ago. "Oh, and next weekend," Grant announced. "I'm thinking we should all go to the cabin. The weather's supposed to be perfect." The cabin, my cabin, the one I'd bought at 23 with my first bonus, the one that still bore only my name on the deed, the one they'd claimed as the family retreat without ever contributing a penny to its upkeep. "Wonderful idea." Mom clapped her hands. "Madeline, you'll handle the groceries, won't you?" It wasn't really a question. It never was. I looked at the clock on the mantel, 11:43 p.m., 17 more minutes until my birthday. I wondered if anyone would remember, but looking at their faces, animated with plans that assumed my compliance, my wallet, my service, I already knew the answer. The candles on Grant's cake had been blown out, but the smoke still lingered in the air, mixing with the jasmine from outside. It smelled like endings. Or perhaps, I thought, feeling something cold and resolute settle in my stomach. It smelled like beginnings. The first time I became the family ATM. I was 22, fresh out of Tulane with my accounting degree and a job offer from Ardent Solutions that seemed like a fortune back then. Dad was still alive, though barely holding on to both his health and his business. The recession had hit his construction company hard, and the medical bills from his heart condition had pushed them to the edge of bankruptcy. "Just this once, sweetheart," Mom had said, tears streaming down her face as we sat in the hospital cafeteria at 3:15 a.m. "The electric company's threatening to shut everything off. I promise we'll pay you back when things get better." Things never got better. Dad died 6 months later, and with him went any pretense that the borrowing was temporary. By 23, I was covering Mom's mortgage to save the family home from foreclosure. "You're the only one with steady income," she'd explained, as if Grant's part-time bartending gigs were a career choice rather than an excuse to avoid responsibility. The house needed a new roof that year. $8,000 I'd saved for a car went to keeping the rain out of the rooms where Grant stored his vinyl collection and Mom kept her antiques. Aunt Sylvia discovered my usefulness around the same time. "Madeline, darling, I'm in a bit of a bind," became her monthly refrain. First, it was helping with her divorce lawyer. Then her car payments when she lost her job at the boutique. Then the mysterious trips to Houston she claimed were for job interviews but always seemed to coincide with casino grand openings. "I'll write you a check next week," she'd promise, waving her manicured nails dismissively. Those checks never materialized, but her requests never stopped. 300 here for utilities, 500 there for unexpected expenses, 2,000 for a root canal that her insurance supposedly didn't cover. Grant's relationship with my money was the most brazen. He didn't even pretend it was borrowing. "Hey, Maddie, I need your credit card," he'd announce, already reaching for my purse. "There's this amazing opportunity in Austin. Music festival, great networking for my career." His career, as if posting Instagram photos from concerts was a profession. But Mom would always take his side. "You know how hard it is for creative types. Madeline, you're so lucky with your stable job." Family helps family. The cabin situation was the ultimate insult. I'd bought it with my first real bonus, a small place on Lake Verity, my escape from the suffocating expectations. Within a month, Grant had claimed the master bedroom for his weekend parties. Mom started calling it our family retreat in Christmas cards. Aunt Sylvia would book it for her friends without asking, leaving me to find empty wine bottles and cigarette burns on the deck I'd personally stained. "The utilities are due for the cabin," Mom would remind me, as if I might forget the property I owned. And Grant noticed the dock needs repairs. "You'll handle that, won't you?" I handled everything. Property taxes $3,200 annually, insurance $1,800, maintenance, repairs. The new water heater when Grant's friends broke the old one during an epic weekend, thousands more. They acted like the cabin had always existed, had always been theirs, while my name alone sat on every document, every bill, every legal paper. The family credit card was my biggest mistake. I'd added them as authorized users to help build Mom's credit after Dad's death. Within 2 years, it became their personal expense account. Groceries, sure, but also Grant's bar tabs. Mom's shopping sprees with her church friends where she needed to keep up appearances. Aunt Sylvia's mysterious Houston trips. "I'll pay my portion when my commission comes in," Grant would say, charging another $1,000 dinner with clients who never seemed to materialize into actual business. "The Social Security check was late this month," Mom would explain, while charging a new outfit for Grant's birthday dinner. "Last year alone, I'd covered $27,000 in family expenses. Not loans, not investments. Just money that disappeared into their lives while they planned vacations I'd pay for, celebrated milestones I'd fund, and lived in comfort I'd never feel. The worst part wasn't the money. It was how invisible I'd become because of it. At family gatherings, I was the chair in the corner, the one who'd handle the check. When they told family stories, I was edited out the anonymous benefactor who might as well not exist. They didn't ask about my work, my life, my dreams. They asked about payment due dates and credit limits. Madeline's so responsible, they'd tell others, which translated to Madeline will pay for it. Madeline doesn't mind, they'd say, which meant we've never asked if she minds. 12 years of this. 12 years of being the family foundation while being treated like furniture. Necessary, functional, but ultimately forgettable. Tomorrow would be my birthday, and I knew already it would pass unnoticed, just like I had passed through their lives, essential but invisible. The wallet they'd never learned to see as a person. The morning light crept through my bedroom curtains at 6:45 a.m. And for a moment, just a brief, foolish moment, I let myself hope. September 15th. My birthday. Maybe this year would be different. I reached for my phone, heart doing that pathetic little skip of anticipation. The screen lit up with notifications work emails, a LinkedIn update, a reminder about my dentist appointment next week. Nothing from Mom, nothing from Grant, nothing from Aunt Sylvia. The family group chat, Harper Squad. Grant's naming, of course, showed 17 new messages. My thumb hovered over it, that stupid hope still fluttering in my chest like a dying moth. Maybe they'd planned a surprise. Maybe they were waiting for me to wake up. I opened the chat. Grant had sent a photo at 11:58 p.m. Last night, 2 minutes before my birthday. It was him at the cabin, my cabin standing on the deck I'd paid to rebuild after Hurricane Ida, holding a beer and grinning at the camera. Already here, this place is paradise. We really lucked out with this family treasure. Family treasure. The words burned. Mom, wonderful. Save the master bedroom for Aunt Sylvia and me. Aunt Sylvia, Grant, darling, stock the good wine. Madeline's treat. Of course, Grant. Already handled, used the family card. Mom, perfect. Madeline, we'll need you to transfer extra to cover it. The utilities are due too. Grant, oh, and I invited some clients up for Sunday. Need to impress them. This place really sells the successful family image. Aunt Sylvia, speaking of which, that doc really needs attention. Madeline, the messages continued. Plans for the weekend, grocery lists, who would sleep where, what activities they'd do. 17 messages about my cabin, my property, my responsibility to fund their getaway. Not a single happy birthday, not even from Mom, who had once stayed up until midnight to be the first to wish Grant happy birthday, who had called him at exactly 12:01 a.m. when he was in Vegas last year. I scrolled up, thinking maybe I'd missed it. Maybe between the demands for money and assumptions about my servitude. Someone had remembered. But no. The last time anyone had acknowledged my birthday in this chat was 3 years ago, when Aunt Sylvia had written HBD at 4 p.m., probably prompted by Facebook. My work phone buzzed. My assistant, Jennifer, had sent a message. Happy birthday, Madeline. Hope you have a wonderful day. A 23-year-old I'd hired 6 months ago remembered. My family didn't. I got up, made my coffee in the silence of my Houston apartment, the one I'd moved to 3 years ago for a promotion, though family still acted like I lived around the corner. Through my window, I could see the city waking up, strangers living their lives, probably with families who saw them as more than ATMs. My personal phone buzzed again. The group chat. Grant had sent another photo. This time, he was in the living room of the cabin, feet up on the coffee table I'd bought, laptop open, perfect office view, thinking about making this my permanent remote workspace. The Harper family compound. Mom, Such a good idea. Your creativity needs space to flourish. I stared at the message. He was claiming my cabin as his office, my retreat as his permanent workspace, my property as the Harper family compound. Another buzz. Mom. In a separate text just to me. Madeline, the cabin's property tax is due next week. 3/2I-47. Don't forget. Also, Grant's having important clients over, so make sure you pay for the landscaping service. We need everything perfect. No, good morning. No, how are you? Certainly no happy birthday. Just a bill and a demand. I set my phone down and looked at myself in the mirror. 34 years old today. 12 years of being the family bank. 12 years of being forgotten except when the bills came due. I thought about all the birthdays I'd made special for them, Grant's surprise party I'd funded last year, Mom's spa weekend I'd arranged and paid for, Aunt Sylvia's designer purse that had cost me a month's savings. My phone buzzed again. Grant, in the group chat, had posted a video tour of his cabin, showing it off to someone on FaceTime. Yeah, it's been in the family forever, I heard him say. We Harpers know how to invest smart. We Harpers. As if he'd contributed a single penny to the down payment, the mortgage I'd paid off in aggressive installments, the repairs, the maintenance, the taxes, the insurance, as if his investment had been anything more than showing up and claiming ownership. The breaking point isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's just a quiet morning, sitting alone on your birthday, watching your family plan a vacation at your property while forgetting you exist. Sometimes it's realizing that you're 34 years old and you've been 34 kinds of forgotten. I picked up my phone one more time, scrolled through the chat. 17 messages had become 23. Still planning, still assuming, still taking. Not one, happy birthday, Madeline. Not one. That's when I knew. They hadn't just forgotten my birthday. They'd forgotten me entirely. I only existed when the bills came due. And maybe, just maybe, it was time to stop existing for them at all. That evening, I sat in my home office with a glass of wine, the good bottle I'd been saving for a special occasion. My birthday seemed special enough, even if I was the only one who knew it. The laptop screen glowed in the darkness at 9:23 p.m., cursor blinking in the search bar like a patient conspirator. I typed Parker Leland, estate attorney. Parker had helped me navigate the cabin purchase when I was 23, young and naive enough to think family meant something sacred. He'd suggested putting it in a trust, protecting it legally, but I'd waved him off. It's for family, I'd said. We don't need all that formality. Now, 11 years later, I pulled up his contact information. His after-hours email auto-reply popped up immediately, but I drafted my message anyway. Parker, I need to discuss the immediate sale of the Lake Verity property. Expedited timeline preferred. Please call me at your earliest convenience. M. Harper. Send. The first domino fell with a soft whoosh of delivered email. Next, I logged into the family credit card account, the one where I was the primary account holder, where Mom, Grant, and Aunt Sylvia were merely authorized users living off my credit score and payment history. The balance made my stomach turn $18.743. This month alone, Grant had charged $3,200 in client entertainment. Mom had spent $1,800 on online shopping, and Aunt Sylvia's Houston trips had cost $200 to $100. I navigated to the account management section. Each authorized user had their own little card icon next to their name, green lights showing their active status. One by one, I clicked through the removal process. Remove Elaine Harper as authorized user. Are you sure? Yes. Remove Grant Harper as authorized user. Are you sure? Yes. Remove Sylvia Brennan as authorized user. Are you sure? Yes. Each confirmation felt like cutting a rope that had been slowly strangling me. The system warned me that cards would be deactivated immediately, that any recurring payments would fail, that this action couldn't be easily reversed. Good. I moved on to the utilities for the cabin. Water, electricity, internet, all in my name, all on autopay from my account. I scheduled them for disconnection in 72 hours. Let Grant explain to his important clients why there was no power for his impressive weekend meeting. The property tax bill Mom had mentioned sat in my email. $3,247 due in 5 days. I archived it without paying. Let the county send the late notices to the address on file mine. I'd handle it after the sale. Not before. My phone buzzed. The family group chat. Of course. Grant. Weird. The wine store just said the card was declined. Must be a glitch. Madeline. Call the credit card company. I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled up my online banking. 12 years of bank statements. 12 years of transfers labeled family support. Mom emergency. Grant business expense. Sylvia temporary loan. I started downloading them all, creating a folder labeled evidence. The total was staggering. $247,000 over 12 years, not including the cabin's mortgage payments, property taxes, or maintenance, just direct transfers and credit card payments. $250,000 of invisible love that had never been acknowledged, never been appreciated, never been reciprocated. Another buzz. Mom. Madeline, there's something wrong with the credit card. Please fix it immediately. Grant has clients coming. I opened a new browser tab and navigated to the Lake Verity cabin rental market analysis I'd bookmarked months ago out of curiosity. Similar properties were selling for $450,000 to $500,000. The cabin I'd bought for $140,000 and paid off aggressively was now worth 3 times that amount. Equity I'd built, value I'd created. While they called it the family treasure, my email chimed. Parker Leland. Despite the late hour, Madeline, I can meet you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Regarding the sale, I have interested buyers who've been looking for lakefront property. We could close within 2 weeks if you're motivated. P.L. I replied, 10 a.m. works. I'm very motivated. The phone started ringing. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. Then Grant. Declined. Then Aunt Sylvia. Ignored. The texts started flooding in, no longer in the group chat but individual messages, each more frantic than the last. Mom. Madeline, this is unacceptable. Answer your phone immediately. Grant. What the hell did you do to the credit cards? I have people coming. Aunt Sylvia. I'm stranded at a gas station. The card won't work. I poured another glass of wine and pulled up a legal document service online. Power of attorney revocation forms, property rights documentation, credit report freeze instructions. I'd spent 12 years building their safety net while they forgot I existed. Now, in the dark quiet of my birthday night, I was meticulously, carefully, deliberately cutting every thread. The laptop screen illuminated my face as I worked, and I caught my reflection in the dark window. I didn't look angry. I looked focused, determined, like someone who had finally remembered that she existed, even if no one else did. By 11:58 p.m., exactly 24 hours after Grant's photo at my cabin, I had dismantled 12 years of financial entanglement. Every account changed, every automatic payment canceled, every legal preparation made for the cabin's sale. As midnight approached, marking the end of my forgotten birthday, I raised my wine glass to my reflection. Happy birthday, Madeline, I said to myself. This year, you gave yourself the only gift that matters. Freedom. The phone buzzed again. 17 missed calls. 43 unread messages. I turned it off completely and went to bed. Tomorrow, I had a meeting with Parker Leland. Tomorrow, the real fireworks would begin. 3 days of silence. 3 days of ignoring the increasingly hysterical messages. 3 days of freedom. Then, at 7:42 on Monday, Grant's text finally broke through my peace. The card got declined in front of the Brennan Industries executives. Do you have any idea what you've done? I looked like a fool. A fool. Madeline. I sipped my coffee and read it twice. The Brennan Industries deal he'd been bragging about for months, the one that would change everything, had apparently depended on him picking up a dinner tab with my credit card. Mom's messages had evolved from demanding to pleading to furious Saturday, Madeline, stop this childish behavior immediately. Sunday, the power went out at the cabin Grant's clients left. This is sabotage. Monday, the electric company says the account was closed. I had to use my Social Security money to get it turned back on. How could you? The Social Security money she claimed never covered her expenses. Interesting how it appeared when needed. Aunt Sylvia's Houston adventure had taken a particularly satisfying turn. Stranded at the Bellagio, room declined, had to call Donna to wire money. Humiliated. You're sick, Madeline. Sick. The Bellagio. So the Houston job interviews were Vegas trips. I screenshotted that one for my records. By Tuesday afternoon, the family group chat had become a war council without me. I could still see the messages even though I hadn't responded to a single one. Grant, she's lost it. Completely lost it. Mom, I can't reach her. Her office says she's in meetings all week. Aunt Sylvia, check her apartment. Maybe something's wrong with her. Grant, you mean besides being vindictive? Mom, don't say that about your sister. Grant, now she's my sister. When's the last time you even talked to her about anything besides money? The pause in messages after that was telling. Then Mom, that's not fair. Grant, isn't it quick? What's Madeline's favorite anything food color TV show? When's her birthday? Another long pause. Aunt Sylvia, this isn't about us. She's clearly having some sort of breakdown. Grant, her birthday was 5 days ago. Mom, what? Grant, I just checked Facebook. September 15th. None of us said anything. The silence in the chat stretched for 3 hours after that revelation. Then the individual apologies started rolling in, each more self-serving than the last. Mom, sweetheart, I'm so sorry about your birthday. You know how scattered I've been since your father died. But this isn't the way to handle hurt feelings. The family needs you. Translation. The family needs my money. Aunt Sylvia. Maddie, happy belated birthday. I was in Houston sure she was for interviews and completely lost track of dates. Let's talk about this like adults. Translation. Please turn my credit card back on. Grant. Look, I'm sorry we forgot your birthday, but destroying my business deal. That's too far. You cost me a $100K contract. Translation. How dare you stop funding my fake success? Wednesday brought escalation. Mom discovered the property tax hadn't been paid. Madeline, the county sent a delinquency notice to the cabin. Grant's name is on it as resident. This affects his credit. Fix this now. Grant's name as resident at my property. The audacity was almost impressive. Thursday was when they discovered the listing. I'd authorized Parker to put it on the MLS, though we hadn't officially listed it publicly yet. But Grant had a realtor friend who saw it in the system. You're selling the cabin, the family cabin, are you insane? 57 messages in 10 minutes. I counted. 57 variations of, you can't do this. It's family property. We'll sue. Dad would be spinning in his grave. This is theft. That last one made me laugh out loud. Theft. Me selling my own property that I'd paid for entirely was theft. But them using it rent-free for a decade was what family values Mom tried calling my office again. Jennifer, bless her, had been instructed to say I was traveling for business. The beauty of working remotely was that no one could prove otherwise. Friday morning, 8:37 a.m. Grant cracked. Fine. You want an apology? I'm sorry. I'm sorry we forgot your birthday. I'm sorry we used the cabin. I'm sorry we rely on you. Is that what you want to hear? Now stop this insanity and turn the cards back on. I have bills due, rent, car payment, everything. Rent he'd never paid on time before I started covering it. A car payment for the BMW he'd leased to maintain appearances for clients that never materialized. Mom played her final card that afternoon. Madeline, if you don't respond by 5 p.m., I'm calling the police for a wellness check. A daughter doesn't just disappear from her family. I'm worried you might hurt yourself. hurt myself. The only thing I'd hurt was their unlimited access to my bank account, but the threat of police involvement meant I had to respond. I crafted my message carefully. I'm fine. I've been busy with work and reconsidering my financial priorities. The cabin is my property, and I've decided to sell it. The credit cards were in my name, and I've closed them. I need space to think. Please respect that. Send. The response was immediate. Not concern for my well-being. Not understanding. Not even fake sympathy. Grant, you can't sell the cabin without telling us where will we go for holidays. Mom, Madeline, this is not acceptable. Family doesn't behave this way. Aunt Sylvia, I have trips planned. Deposits paid. You're ruining everything. Family doesn't behave this way. The irony was so thick I could have carved it with a knife. 12 years of taking, assuming, forgetting, and I was the one not behaving like family. I turned off my phone and opened my laptop. Parker had sent the official offer $475,000 cash, closing in 10 days. The buyers wanted to move quickly. I typed my response, accept the offer, let's proceed. The family that forgot me was about to learn what it felt like to be forgotten themselves. The pounding on my door started at 6:18 p.m. on Saturday. I'd been expecting it. Grant's car had been circling my building for the past hour. I'd watched from my window as he tried to figure out which unit was mine. The doorman had refused to let him up. Bless his professional heart, but Grant had waited until someone else exited and slipped in behind them. Madeline, open this door. I know you're in there. I sat on my couch, wine in hand, listening to my brother lose his composure in the hallway. Mrs. Chen from 4B poked her head out. I heard her threaten to call security if he didn't quiet down. This is a family emergency, Grant shouted back at her. Then, louder, Madeline, you're destroying everything. Everything. I took another sip of wine, a 2018 Bordeaux I'd been saving. It tasted like vindication. The pounding continued for 12 minutes. I timed it. Then my phone rang. Building security. Ms. Harper, there's a gentleman here claiming to be your brother. Should we remove him? Please, I said calmly. He's causing a disturbance. Through the door, I heard the security guard arrive. Grant's voice pitched higher, frantic. That's my sister. We have a family emergency. She's sick. She's having a breakdown. She needs help. Sir, you need to leave now, or we'll call the police. Madeline. One last desperate shout. You're selfish. You hear me? Selfish. You're destroying this family. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Grant, from his car. I'm not leaving Houston until we talk. You owe us an explanation. Owe, that word. 12 years. $247,000 in direct support, a fully funded lifestyle, and somehow I still owed them. Sunday morning brought a new tactic. Mom arrived at 9:45 a.m., buzzing my apartment from the lobby. Her voice through the intercom was carefully crafted desperation. Madeline, sweetheart, it's Mom. Please, I just want to make sure you're okay. I'm worried sick. I picked up the intercom. I'm fine. Mom, please leave. How can you be fine? You're selling our family legacy, the cabin where we made all those memories. What memories? The ones where I paid for everything while they played happy family without me? The birthdays they celebrated there while forgetting mine? The weekends I couldn't use my own property because Grant had claimed it for another party? It's not our anything. Mom, it's mine. I'm done discussing this. Madeline Harper, you open this door right now, I'm your mother. And I'm your daughter. When's my birthday? Mom. Silence. Even through the intercom, I could feel her struggling. This isn't about. September 15th. Last Monday. Goodbye. Mom. I disconnected. She stayed in the lobby for 2 hours, alternating between buzzing and sitting in the visitor's chair, telling anyone who'd listen about her troubled daughter who was going through something. The doorman, Carlos, later told me she'd tried to convince him she needed to be let up for a medical emergency. He'd asked if he should call 911. She'd left quickly after that. That evening, they coordinated. Mom at the front entrance, Grant at the parking garage, Aunt Sylvia calling repeatedly, a full assault on my boundaries. My neighbor texted me, "Girl, your family is crazy. That woman in the garage is telling everyone you stole from them." I texted back, "She's mad I stopped giving them money." Oh, honey, good for you. Stay strong. Monday arrived with legal threats. Grant had found a lawyer friend willing to write a scary-sounding letter about family property and verbal agreements and equity through investment of labor. I forwarded it to Parker, who actually laughed on the phone. Investment of labor. Did he paint a wall once, Madeline? They have absolutely nothing. The deed is in your name only. Every payment came from your accounts. I have 12 years of documentation. This is desperation disguised as legal action. But the confrontation I hadn't expected came Tuesday evening. I'd ordered Thai food, and when the delivery arrived, I opened my door to find Grant standing there holding my pad Thai like a peace offering. "The delivery guy let me bring it up," he said quickly, before I could slam the door. "Please, 5 minutes." He looked terrible. His usual cockiness had evaporated, leaving someone I barely recognized. Hollow eyes, stubbled face, shoulders slumped in defeat. 5 minutes, I said, not moving from the doorway. "Can I come in?" "No, talk." He set the food down between us like a buffer. The Brennan deal fell through. Without the company card, I couldn't take them out, couldn't keep up the image. They think I'm a joke, a nobody playing pretend. You are playing pretend, Grant. You've been playing with my money for years. His face flushed. That's not? I was building something. I just needed time. 12 years wasn't enough. You don't understand what it's like. The old Grant flared back. You with your steady job, your boring accounting, your predictable life. Some of us have bigger dreams. Funded by my boring accounting job. We're family. He actually stamped his foot like a child. Family helps each other. When have you ever helped me? Grant one time? Name one single time. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came. When Dad was dying, he finally said, I drove you to the hospital that one night. Because your car was blocked in by Mom's, and you needed gas money to get there. The fight went out of him then, like air from a punctured balloon. You really hate us that much. I don't hate you, I said quietly. That would require energy I don't want to spend on you anymore. I nothing you. You're nothing to me now. Just like I was nothing to you for 12 years, except when bills were due. Madeline, your 5 minutes are up. I started to close the door, but he pressed his hand against it. Not aggressively, just desperately. The cabin, he said. At least let us say goodbye to it. Let us have one last weekend there. It closes Friday. The new owners take possession Monday. Then, this weekend? No. You're really that cruel, you won't even let us say goodbye. I looked at my brother, this stranger who shared my blood but had never shared my burden. Ask Mom when my birthday is. Grant, if she can tell you, without checking Facebook, you can have your goodbye weekend. His face crumpled because we both knew she couldn't. I closed the door on him then, picked up my pad thai from the floor, and ate it alone in peaceful silence. The family that had forgotten me was learning what it felt like to be forgotten in return. The only difference was, I was choosing to forget them. They'd forgotten me by accident, by carelessness, by taking me for granted. My forgetting was deliberate, and that, I realized, made all the difference. Wednesday afternoon, 3:37 p.m., a knock at my door. Soft, hesitant. Nothing like Grant's pounding or Mom's demanding buzz. I looked through the peephole to see a young woman I didn't recognize, blonde, mid-20s, nervous energy radiating from her fidgeting hands. Yes, I called through the door. Madeline, I'm Lauren. I was Grant's girlfriend. Was past tense. I opened the door cautiously. She stood there holding a manila folder like it might explode. Designer purse, expensive highlights, The kind of put-together look Grant always gravitated toward women who photographed well for his Instagram lifestyle posts. "I know you don't know me," she said quickly. "We met once at that Christmas party 2 years ago. You probably don't remember. You were in the kitchen most of the night. I had been cooking, serving, cleaning, the help, not the guest. What do you want, Lauren? Can I come in? I have something you need to see." Against my better judgment, I let her in. She perched on the edge of my couch like she might flee at any moment, clutching that folder. "Grant and I broke up yesterday," she began. "After he came back from trying to see you, he was unhinged, ranting about you destroying the family, about losing the cabin, about how selfish you were. And you're here to defend him." "No." She opened the folder with shaking hands. "I'm here because I finally understand what kind of person he really is, and I thought you should have these." She spread papers across my coffee table, financial documents, bank statements, emails. My name was all over them. Grant kept these in his home office, his success file. He called it. I thought it was business stuff. But she pointed to one document. "This is the deed to the cabin. Only your name is on it. But look at this." She pulled out another paper, a business proposal Grant had written, dated 6 months ago. "Harper Family Estates, luxury rental properties." The executive summary described him as the owner and operator of a family portfolio of vacation properties, starting with our flagship Lake Verity cabin. He was planning to rent it out, I asked, as his business. He'd already had a website designed. She showed me mock-ups on her phone. Professional photos of my cabin, with Grant positioned as the owner-host. "Escape to the Harper family legacy." The tagline read, "But that's not the worst part." Lauren pulled out a legal document. "This is a quitclaim deed transfer. He'd already filled it out, putting the cabin in his name. He just needed your signature." I stared at the document. There was even a sticky note in Grant's handwriting, "Get M to sign during Christmas when she's had wine." "There's more," Lauren said quietly. She handed me a printed email thread between Grant and someone named Derek. I read Grant. "Once I get the cabin transferred, we can leverage it for the business loan." Derek: "Your sister will just sign it over Grant. She'll do whatever Mom tells her to. We just need to make her think it's for tax purposes or something. Madeline never questions family stuff." Derek: "Cold man." Grant: "It's business. Besides, she owes us. We had to grow up with her boring ass always playing the martyr." I set the papers down, my hands surprisingly steady. "Why are you showing me this?" Lauren's eyes filled with tears. "Because I spent 3 years thinking I was dating this successful entrepreneur, this generous guy who took care of his family, who owned this amazing lake house, who was building something real. But it was all funded by you, wasn't it?" I nodded. "The dinners, the trips, the gifts, even the engagement ring he bought me last month." She held up her bare left hand. "Charged to a credit card you paid for. I gave it back when I found out. I can't marry someone who would do this to his own sister." He proposed 2 weeks ago, at the cabin, your cabin. He told me it would be ours someday, that it was his inheritance. She laughed bitterly. I actually asked him, "What about Madeline?" You know what he said: "Madeline doesn't need it. She doesn't even like fun." Doesn't like fun. Because I was too busy funding everyone else's fun to have any of my own. Lauren gathered up all the documents and pushed them toward me. "Keep these, in case you need them for, I don't know, legal stuff, proof, whatever." She stood to leave, then turned back. "Can I ask you something? Why did you let it go on so long?" I thought about it. Because I confused duty with love. I thought if I gave enough, helped enough, sacrificed enough, eventually they'd see me, value me, love me back. Did they ever? "What do you think?" Lauren nodded slowly. "For what it's worth, Grant's lost everything. The Brennan deal, his reputation, me. His friend Derek won't even return his calls now that the money's gone. Your mom and aunt are fighting about whose fault this is. The family you were holding together is falling apart without your money." "That's not a family," I said. "That's a pyramid scheme, and I was the base." She headed for the door, then stopped. "Oh, one more thing. Grant's been telling everyone you're having a mental breakdown, that you've gone crazy, but you seem like the sanest person in this whole mess." "Sanity is expensive," I told her. "It cost me $250,000 in 12 years of my life to buy it back." After she left, I sat with the documents she'd brought, proof of Grant's plans to steal my cabin through manipulation, evidence of premeditated financial abuse, the quitclaim deed with its damning sticky note. I photographed everything and sent it to Parker with a simple message, "In case they escalate." His response was immediate. "This changes everything. This is attempted fraud. Do you want to pursue charges? Did I could, Grant's own handwriting, his own emails, planning to trick me into signing over my property. But no, I didn't want revenge through courts and lawyers. I wanted something cleaner. I wanted absence. I wanted to become the ghost they'd treated me as for years present only in the consequences of my departure. I texted Parker back, "No charges, just make sure the sale goes through Friday as planned." Then I did something I hadn't done in 12 years. I blocked every single one of them: Mom, Grant, Aunt Sylvia, phone, email, social media, complete disconnection. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of possibility, full of peace, full of my own thoughts without the constant demands of people who'd proven they saw me as nothing more than a wallet with a pulse. Lauren had asked why I'd let it go on so long, but the better question was why I'd stopped. And the answer was simple: even wallets have limits, and mine had finally been reached. Friday morning, 10:15 a.m., I stood in the cabin one last time. The closing was in 2 hours, but I'd driven up at dawn to say my own goodbye, the one that mattered. Parker had offered to handle everything remotely, but this needed to be done in person. The place felt different without their presence haunting it. Quieter, more mine than it had ever been. Ironically, just hours before it wouldn't be mine at all. I walked through each room, not with nostalgia, but with the kind of detachment you feel when leaving a job you should have quit years ago. In the master bedroom, the one Grant had claimed as his, I found things they'd left behind in their last hurried visit: a watch on the nightstand, some of Mom's reading glasses, Aunt Sylvia's forgotten medications for her anxiety. I gathered everything into a box labeled "Harper Family What It Used to Be" and left it on the porch. The new owners could decide what to do with it. The kitchen drawer still held the spare keys, 7 sets, all made without asking me, distributed to friends and extended family like party favors. I collected them all and tossed them in the trash. The symbolism wasn't lost on me. I'd brought one thing with me: a check for $15,000, made out to Elaine Harper. Not because I owed them anything. Lauren's documents had proven they owed me far more than money, but because I wanted to end this cleanly. No loose threads they could pull to unravel my peace. I left it on the kitchen counter with a note: "This covers any perceived obligations. The cabin sale is finalized. The credit cards are closed. This is the last money you will ever receive from me. Use it wisely. It needs to last the rest of your lives without me. M." As I drove away, I didn't look back. Not once. The rearview mirror showed only the road ahead, which seemed appropriate. The closing went smoothly. Papers signed, keys transferred, check deposited. $475,000. After taxes and fees. I'd net enough to change everything. Not just financially, though I'd already scheduled meetings with investment advisors, but fundamentally. This money wasn't tainted by their expectations or assumptions. It was purely mine. That evening, I sat in my Houston apartment with a cup of tea, watching the sun set over the city. My phone had been blessed silent all day, the beauty of blocking. But I'd created a new email account and sent one final message to their addresses. "The cabin has been sold. I've left a check for $15,000 at the property for you to split however you see fit. This represents the end of our financial relationship. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors, but that future no longer includes me. Please respect my decision for no contact. Madeline." I didn't wait for responses. That email account was immediately closed too. Saturday brought unexpected peace. I woke up without the weight of their expectations, their demands, their casual cruelty disguised as family bond. I went to the farmer's market, something I'd never had time for when weekends were spent managing their crises. I bought flowers for my own table, not for someone else's party. I had lunch alone at a quiet cafe, reading a book without interruption, without the constant buzz of demands disguised as requests. A colleague from work texted, "Hey, saw your brother's Instagram. He's saying you had a breakdown. Are you okay?" I responded, "Never better. Just decided to stop funding his lifestyle. Amazing how that looks like insanity to people living off your money." She sent back laughing emojis and, "Good for you, drinks to celebrate next week?" Absolutely. Sunday afternoon. I did something I hadn't done in 12 years. I calculated my actual net worth without the drain of family expenses. Between my salary, the cabin sale proceeds, and the money I'd no longer be hemorrhaging monthly, I could retire at 50 if I wanted, maybe 45 if I invested wisely. The freedom was intoxicating. 2 weeks later, Jennifer mentioned she'd gotten calls at the office. "Your mom's been trying to reach you. She says it's urgent." "It always was," I replied. "Please continue to tell her I'm unavailable." She sounded pretty desperate. She should have thought of that before she forgot I existed for everything except bills. A month passed, then 2. The seasons changed. Houston moved from fall to winter, and my life settled into a rhythm that was entirely my own. I traveled to Seattle for a conference and extended it into a vacation, something I'd never done because vacation money always went to family emergencies. I stood at Pike Place Market, drinking coffee I'd chosen, on a schedule I'd set, with money I'd earned and kept. That's when I knew I'd won. Not because I'd hurt them, that had never been the goal, but because I'd finally remembered who I was without them. Madeline Harper, not the family ATM, not the forgotten daughter, not the reliable sister, just Madeline, person, individual, free. 6 months after the cabin sale, Parker forwarded me a legal notice. Grant was attempting to contest the sale, claiming duress and undue influence. Parker had already responded with Lauren's documents, the attempted fraud, the planned deception, the evidence of years of financial manipulation. The case was dismissed within a week. I never heard from them again. Sometimes I wonder if they think about me. If Mom finally learned my birthday. If Grant ever understood that success can't be borrowed from someone else's bank account. If Aunt Sylvia realized those Houston trips cost more than money, they cost her a niece who might have actually cared. But mostly, I don't think about them at all. They wanted to forget me. And finally, beautifully, completely, I've forgotten them too. The only difference is that my forgetting came with a check for $15,000 and a clear conscience. Theirs came with the bill for what life actually costs when you're not living off someone else's love. And that, I think, is the kind of interest that compounds forever. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Have you ever had to cut off family members who only saw you as their personal bank? How did you find the strength to finally say, enough? Your stories matter too, and I'd love to hear them in the comments below.